It's March Madness. The first book coming at you is Fandango Stew by David Davis, illustrated by Ben Galbraith. Slim rubbed his grumbling belly as he rode into the town of Skinflint. "I'm so hungry I could eat a boiled leather boot," he said to his grandson Louis. "Neither of us has a peso, abuelo," said Louis. "Looks like Fandango Stew for supper again." Slim grinned and sang, "Chili's good, so is barbecue, but nothing's finer than Fandango Stew." When they stopped to water their mustangs, the town sheriff collared them. "You two cowpokes can just keep right on a-ridin'," said the sheriff. "The hard-working citizens of Skinflint don't feed saddle tramps. It ain't far to the city limits, and it's downhill all the way." "We're not aiming to lasso a handout," said Slim. "My grandson and I rode in to treat Skinflint to a pot of Fandango bean stew." The sheriff narrowed his eyes. "I never heard tell of Fandango Stew." Slim pulled a small bean from his vest pocket and held it up in the air. He sang, "Chili's good, so is barbecue, but nothing's finer than Fandango Stew." "What are you sidewinders trying to pull?" growled the sheriff. The mayor moseyed over with the owner of the general store. Both men laughed. They said, "You skunks can't make stew for the whole town with one bean." "Lend us that big iron kettle yonder and you'll see," said Slim. "These hombres are loco," said the shopkeeper. "But I want to see this." The sheriff twirled his mustache. "Well, I guess it won't hurt anything to watch you two fools boil water." He and the blacksmith rolled the huge iron pot into the town square. Slim built a fire under it while Louis filled it up with water. When the pot boiled, Louis kissed the tiny Fandango bean and dropped it in. Slim and Louis sang in two-part harmony. "Chili's good, so is barbecue, but nothing's finer than Fandango Stew." The bank president poked his head out the bank window and yelled, "What's that ruckus going on out there?" The mayor pointed into the pot. "What's the nearest next to nothing you ever saw?" Slim ignored them and stirred the pot with the long wooden spoon. "This stew is muy bueno," he said. "But if we added a little salt and pepper to season the Fandango bean, it would be truly magnifico." The banker chuckled. "Shucks, I can lend you a little salt and pepper." He shut the window and ran outside with two fancy gold salt and pepper shakers and sprinkled the seasonings into the pot. Then Slim, Louis, and the banker sang in three-part harmony. "Chili's good, so is barbecue, but nothing's finer than Fandango Stew." Slim tasted the stew and sighed. "What's ailing you?" asked the blacksmith. "Nothing," said Slim. "I was just a-thinking how a purple onion would bring out the flavor of the Fandango bean." "I guess the wife and I could rustle up an onion," the blacksmith said. His wife fetched one, and the blacksmith diced it to toss into the boiling water. Then Slim, Louis, the banker, the blacksmith, and his wife sang in five-part harmony. "Chili's good, so is barbecue, but nothing's finer than Fandango Stew." Louis sniffed the air and said, "This stew smells good, muchachos. Not as tasty as that batch over in Dogleg Gulch, but good." "It can't be helped, amigo," Slim said. "We had potatoes in Dogleg Gulch. This is Skinflint." A lawyer in a frock coat elbowed his way up to the kettle. "We've got passels of potatoes," he yelled. He disappeared and returned wheeling a huge barrel of spuds. "Skinflint has more potatoes than Dogleg Gulch. Case closed." While they peeled potatoes, Slim, Lewis, the banker, the blacksmith, his wife, and the lawyer were merry. They sang in 6-part harmony. "Chili's good, so is barbecue, but nothing's finer than Fandango Stew." Skinflint's pretty school teacher tugged at Slim's arm. She opened a large cookbook. "Pardon me, sir, but it says here that you need more than potatoes for a healthy stew. Children need vegetables." "You're right as rain, ma'am. If this was the stew we cooked in New Summerfield, we'd have plenty," Slim said. "They grow lots of vegetables there, but Skinflint is just a one-horse town." "One-horse town," yelled the sheriff. "Dag nabbit, I'll show you vegetables." He whistled up his deputies. "Boys, make tracks to my garden. Pick anything that even looks like a vegetable. Pronto! Even pick the okra." In a few minutes, they returned with baskets loaded with peppers, peas, cabbage, asparagus, squash, carrots, and okra. Slim winked at Lewis and said, "Sheriff, perhaps you brought too many vegetables. They might smother the delicate flavor of the Fandango bean." "Listen, Pilgrim, you'll add all those vegetables and like it, or you'll spend the night in the jailhouse," the sheriff growled. "If you insist," said Slim. The teacher and the school children washed the vegetables at the town pump. Lewis added all of them to the stew, even the okra. Just then, Skinflint Culture Club ladies strutted over, twirling their parasols. Not to be outdone, they stirred in 5 pounds of brown rice and a bushel of prize-winning heirloom tomatoes. They had their menfolk set up tables and hang paper lanterns all around the square. Then Slim, Lewis, the banker, the blacksmith, his wife, the lawyer, the mayor, the deputies, the ladies' culture club, their menfolk, the school teacher, and the children sang in 47-part harmony. "Chili's good, so is barbecue, but nothing's finer than Fandango Stew." The stew simmered and the aroma drifted over the whole town. When the Fandango Stew was done, the storekeeper and his wife served it with big glasses of sweet tea. Everybody had all the stew they wanted. Nobody ate more than the sheriff. He even took bowls of stew to the desperados in the jailhouse. After supper, the mayor burped and said, "Fellers, I'm as full as a tick." He slapped Slim and Lewis on the back. "Now tell me if this isn't the best dang stew shindig you buckaroos ever saw." "It truly is a fine fiesta," said Lewis. "I never seen better," said Slim. When night fell, the moon rose over Skinflint like a big yellow balloon. Everyone strolled home, all tuckered out from the excitement, and nobody went to bed hungry. The next morning, the whole town turned out to say goodbye to Slim and Lewis. The mayor dabbed his teary eyes with a handkerchief, and he said, "We sure wish you galoots would stay a spell." "Well, we'd best be hitting the trail," Slim said as they mounted up. "Before you go," the shopkeeper said, "tell me where I can get some of those Fandango beans." Lewis pointed to a barrel on the porch. "You got plenty right there, amigo." "Why, those are just common pinto beans," the shopkeeper's wife replied. "Any bean makes a fine Fandango stew," Slim said. "Just add generosity and kindness." "Well, hog tie me with the noodle," laughed the sheriff. Slim and Louis tipped their hats, and the whole town could hear their fine duet as they rode into the sunrise. Chili is good, so is barbecue, but nothing's finer than Fandango Stew. The end.